Hello everyone, welcome to another Bitcoin related tutorial. In today's video I'm going to introduce a couple of new applications that I've developed, which are designed to help simplify mining Bitcoin at scale. Now in a previous video I demonstrated how to mine Bitcoin at home using Datum Gateway and a small device like a BitAxe or Avalon Nano. And those devices, they operate in the range of terahashes per second. But recently a method has opened up where you can mine at the rate of petahashes per second. To give you an idea of the difference in scale, there are 1,000 terahashes in one petahash. And the way this works is the Braiins mining pool has taken a percentage of their pool's hash rate and put it onto a market that they call Braiins Hashpower. And there anyone can go and bid on a slice of that hash rate and direct it toward any Stratum endpoint that they want. What's cool about that is Datum Gateway provides a Stratum endpoint that allows you to direct all of that hash rate toward mining block templates that you've generated. This is particularly important in the context of the spam war, because if you're running the latest version of Bitcoin Knots plus Datum Gateway, then you can direct a significant amount of hash rate to attempt mining blocks that are signaling for BIP-110. Now, if you're not familiar with BIP-110, you've probably been under a rock for the last few months. But if that's you, BIP-110 is a temporary emergency soft fork, which targets at the consensus level popular mechanisms for encoding arbitrary data in the blockchain. The reason for an emergency soft fork is because since the release of Bitcoin Core version 30, the network has become vulnerable to essentially any pervert on the network being able to encode the most degenerate data into the blockchain that you can imagine, and potentially making it illegal to run a Bitcoin node. Now, for Bitcoin to remain censorship resistant and neutral, it needs to have a decentralized network of node runners. And so obviously, if it becomes illegal or unsavory to run a Bitcoin node, a lot fewer people are going to run them, and that'll degrade the network's decentralization. The reason the soft fork is temporary is because it allows us to get a immediate stopgap to prevent the worst case scenario, and then the community will have time to iron out a more robust set of consensus updates for addressing spam that can potentially be adopted later. So enough background, let's jump right in.
Open the floodgates, let it pour. All this power ain't a black hole anymore. We've been stacking up thunder brick by brick. Now the world's gonna change and it's gonna be quick. Open the floodgates, feel it roar. What we build in the dark's coming through the door. Open the floodgates, can't hold back. Future's on the time chain and it just went snap.
So before I get started, let me show you where you can get all of my latest applications if you're running a Start9 server or an Umbrel. On my forum at paulscode.com, I've got a couple of threads. One is for my official Start9 registry. If you click on that, you can see that I've got two custom registries, one for StartOS version 0.3.5.1 and one for version 0.4.0. So basically the way you add these is on your server, you'll go to, if this is 0.3.5.1, you'll go to Marketplace, you'll click Change, and then you'll click Add Custom Registry. And here you'll paste in the custom registry for 0.3.5.1. It has this -035 in it. For that, you'll just hit Save and Connect, and then you'll see all of my current Start9 apps here. If you're on version 0.4.0, it's pretty similar. You'll go to Marketplace, you'll click Switch, you'll click Add Custom Registry, and for this one, you'll enter the 0.4.0 registry. Put that in. Just make sure I don't have any extra spaces in here. And then save and connect. And once again, you'll see all of my applications in the store now. For Umbrel, I've got another, let's go back to paulscode.com. I've got another one called My Official Umbrel App Store. This is the App Store URL here, so you're just going to copy that. Here you'll go to the App Store. You'll click the three dots to add a community App Store. Paste the URL in there. Make sure you don't have any extra spaces. And then click Add. And here, if we open that, we can now see all of my applications in the App Store. So let me describe what some of these are before we get started. I've got Mempool BIP-110. This is a really useful, this is optional, you don't need to run this, but this gives you some nice visualizations of the mempool from the perspective of BIP-110, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So that on Umbrel is down here in the finance section. In 0.3 or 0.4.0, it's right here, Mempool BIP-110. Should be in the Bitcoin section as well as the all section. And then on 0.3.5.1, similar, we've got the featured section, which shows Mempool BIP-110, and we can also go to Bitcoin section, it's there. Let me show you what Mempool BIP-110 looks like, because I've got it running on one of my servers here. Basically what it does, it highlights the violation. If BIP-110 were in we're active now, it highlights what would be violated in a particular block. So if I just pick one of these, like say right here, it says there's 530 violations in this particular block. So if BIP-110 were activated, those are 530 transactions that would have been filtered out. So let's see what those are. So you can see there's a bunch of them here. I'm going to see if I can find a good one, a good example that has some larger ones. That, see, a lot of these are BRC. Yeah, so here, this is probably an inscription. So you see this larger. So these, basically the violations are highlighted in orange. You can click on any of those transactions. And usually the larger ones are these inscriptions. These are like images or something. So you can click on that. Yeah, it says this is an inscription. So you can see the violations that it made. BIP-110, large push data. It has the op if, op not if in TypeScript. So these are the things that would have flagged this as not a valid transaction once BIP-110 activates. And so this lets you scroll back through time, and you can sort of look for blocks that are not having any BIP-110 violations in them. So if we go back a little ways here, let's see if we can find any. Yeah, so here's a few. So these blocks here don't have any spam in them, but they're not signaling for BIP-110. If a block is mined that is signaling for BIP-110, it'll show up like this. It'll be highlighted in green. It'll have this banner at the top that says BIP-110. And you can also see inside BIP-110 violations, none. Similarly, if I were to look at this one, you can see that this one has no BIP-110 violations. So just a nice way to visualize how the health of the blockchain, or the unhealth, I should say, how much spam is actually getting encoded into the blockchain. Now I made it so that you can install this alongside the official Mempool app. It doesn't conflict with it, so you can run both if you want. But I think this is a useful tool for anyone that is supporting BIP-110. All right, so that's just called Mempool BIP-110. Now, the applications that I'm going to be introducing today are called, let me go to the marketplace here. Yeah, so they are called HashGG. What this does is this opens a tunnel to your Datum gateway without having to open a port in your router. So the other cool thing too is, if you remember in my previous video, whenever we set up Datum gateway, we had to run all those commands in the terminal in order to allow the miners to connect to Datum gateway. HashGG makes so you don't actually have to run those steps anymore. Now those are only required on version 0.3.5.1. They're not required on 0.4.0 anyway. But if you're running 0.3.5.1 and you want an easier way to set up even just mining with your home ASIC, even if you don't want to get into Braiins Hashpower, HashGG is going to make your life a lot easier by letting you to skip those steps. And the other application is called Agent Wallet. And this simplifies a number of steps like setting up your Ocean, your Lightning offer, your Lightning node and your Lightning offer to receive payouts from Ocean when they're below 1 million sats, and for putting clean UTXOs into Braiins Hashpower to avoid manual review. And so I'll talk about that when we get there. So the things that you're going to need to install, let's go to the services on all of our servers here. Things that you'll need to install ahead of time. Let's start with Umbrel here. You'll need to have the latest version of Bitcoin Knots installed and synced. You'll need to have Electris installed and synced. And you'll need to have Lightning node installed and synced. You don't need to do anything with the Lightning node. Don't need to put any Bitcoin into it yet. If you already do, that's fine and don't want anything. But Agent Wallet is actually going to make setting up your Lightning node much, much easier if you're starting from scratch. So you need to have your Lightning node. You need to have Bitcoin Knots, Electris, and you need to have a Mempool app. You can use my Mempool BIP-110 app if you want, or you can use the official Mempool app, or you can have both installed. But you have to have at least one of those installed. Okay. On StartOS, similar kind of deal. We need to have Bitcoin Knots installed. You need to have either Electris or Fulcrum installed. Now, on StartOS version 0.3.5.1, you're probably going to be running Electris. And if you've upgraded from there to version 0.4.0, you'll probably also be running Electris. But if you're starting with a fresh 0.4.0, you may be running Fulcrum. That's sort of become the official supported one. Electris is still on the community registry, but the official Start9 registry is now supporting Fulcrum. And you can have either of those. You need to have either Electris or Fulcrum installed. The app supports both. You need to have L&D installed. Again, you don't have to set it up. If you already set it up, it's great. But if you've not, Agent Wallet is going to help you set up your Lightning node from scratch. So you just need to install L&D and wait for it to sync. Same kind of deal on 0.3.5.1. We need to have Bitcoin Knots. We need to have Electris or Fulcrum. And we need to have L&D fully synced. We also need to have a Mempool app. It can either be Mempool BIP-110, which is my app, or the official Mempool app. So basically the same requirements on Umbrel and either version of Start9. Now you can see I've also installed Agent Wallet on this particular one. And the reason is I kind of want to show some of the later features that'll require a lot of base layer confirmations. And so to save time, I've got it already installed on one of these servers, so I can show you some of those features when we get to there. But the other ones you can see I've not installed Agent Wallet yet on my 0.4.0 server or on my Umbrel server. Okay, so I've just got the bare minimum applications. One other thing I should note, you may have noticed I've got this Electris Liquid app installed on all these servers. This is for an advanced mixing feature in Agent Wallet. And the reason I have it installed is because it takes a really long time to sync. But this is not required. In fact, I recommend not installing this because we're not going to need it today for mining at scale. This is for mixing, which I'll have a future video on, for mixing your Bitcoin to provide for anonymity. And this is even optional in that case. But the reason I recommend not installing it is because it actually is a extreme system resource hog. So if we go over to here, you can see it has a warning in here Um, that the package itself uses around 14 gigabytes of RAM during initial sync, but is meant to run alongside Bitcoin Lightning services like Core, Electris, Mempool, LND. So at least 32 gigabytes of total system RAM is recommended. A 16 gigabyte machine also running those services will run out of memory. And I have tested this. It will crash and it'll be very difficult to get your server back up. If you do that by mistake, if you install this and it gets to the state where your server is completely crashed and you're having trouble getting it going, just hop on the forum at paulscode.com. Here, create an account, post a thread, and I'll help you through that. But yeah, that you definitely do not want to run this service, Liquid Electrum server. Do not run that if you don't have at least 32 gigabytes of RAM on your server. All right, and we're not going to need that today. Like I said, this is an optional service, but I'm just pointing out since you might see it running here, you might be curious about it. That's for an advanced mixing feature that I'll describe in a future video. So just to recap, the things that you need are Bitcoin knots, Electris or Fulcrum, LND, and Mempool, either Mempool BIP-110 or the official app. Okay, so the first thing we're going to install is an agent wallet, and that's going to help simplify our configuration with Datum Gateway and Ocean Mining Pool. So we're going to go to the marketplace, make sure we're on the Pulse Code marketplace, and install Agent Wallet. I've already installed it on this one. Let's go install it on the other ones. Agent Wallet, install. And then on Umbrel, install Agent Wallet. Here you can select if you have a different Electrum server, you can select it here. So we have Electris, so we're going to keep that. Now in the services, you can go to Agent Wallet and configure. Here you can select which Mempool app you want to use. If you've got the Mempool BIP-110 installed, you can use it, or you can select the official Mempool. You select which one of these that you want to open up whenever you click on a transaction, for example. So I'm going to leave it on the BIP-110 version. For indexer, if you're using Fulcrum, you switch to that. Otherwise, leave it on Electris. And then leave this blank, the Mempool Explorer URL. If you leave this blank, it'll use the configured Mempool Explorer. So Mempool Explorer is used for the back end, figuring out fees and whatnot, but it's also used for the front end when you click on links. So if you wanted to have a separate one, like say you wanted Mempool.space here, you could put that. Otherwise, just leave it blank. It'll use the same one you configured here for both. Okay, so that's it for that. On 0.4.0, you go to Agent Wallet. Let's see, you installed, here we go. So here we need to go to Actions, Configure. So here we can select which indexer. Remember, it selects Fulcrum by default on 0.4.0 because if you're running 0.4.0 fresh, that's the recommended one. If you've upgraded from 0.3.5 to 1, you're probably running Electris though, which is I am in this case, so I need to select Electris. Here you can select which Mempool app you want to run. I'm going to use the BIP-110 version. And just like in 0.3.5.1, I can put a separate URL for the links if I wanted to. And then I'll just go ahead and submit. On Umbrel, we can go to settings. And here, like I said, we can select whichever indexer that we're using. So that's the only configuration on there. It'll automatically detect if you're running a Mempool BIP-110 app or Mempool app, and it'll use that if it's configured. Otherwise, it'll use mempool.space. So that's why I said you want to make sure you have a Mempool app installed so that it's not reaching that. For privacy, you want to use your own instance of Mempool. Okay, so once you have Agent Wallet installed, you can go ahead and start it up. You're going to wait for the health checks to turn green. Okay, once health checks are green, we'll go ahead and click Open UI. It's going to ask for your password. You'll get your password over in Actions, Configure. The password is here. Unfortunately, in 040, which I don't like, you have to actually show the password to be able to copy it. Otherwise, it just copies the stars. It was nice in 0351 where you could copy it while it was not shown, but that's fine. Let's change it later. Okay, so sign in. Okay, so when you first start Agent Wallet, it's going to help you set up your LND node if you haven't already set it up. So it detects this is a fresh new LND node, and it's going to ask me what I want to do. So before I do that, let me just show how this looks in Umbrel as well. I go ahead and start Agent Wallet. When you start it, it has the credentials shown here. If you say don't show this again, you'll have to go to settings. Or where was it? Show default credentials. Yeah, that's it. So you can get it that way. But for convenience, it has it automatically show it here. If you don't check that checkbox, it'll show up every time. You can just copy the credentials into the clipboard and then open, paste them in, and click sign in. Now, I've noticed that before where for some reason it has the wrong credentials in the clipboard when you copy it. I don't know what causes that. But if it does, you just go back and copy it again. I think this is an Umbrel quirk. But okay, so once we're in there, it looks exactly the same as on Start9. So I'll just go ahead and continue on Start9. So it says, what do you want to use Agent Wallet for? So this is setting up a Lightning node. So really what this is asking, what do you want to use your Lightning node for? And since we're doing it for mining, we're basically going to be using for receive and getting paid. Now you could say both also. So if you want to like use your Lightning node to pay at Stake and Shake, for example, you can select both. For now, I'm just going to hit receive, get paid. So on this screen, it allows you to select how much you're planning to receive. I'm going to go ahead and click on heavy. And here, when you click on heavy, it's going to suggest, so in order to get the 2 million inbound capacity that I'm looking for, the most efficient way is I'm going to need 268,000 sats. And the way this efficient works is it'll open up a channel for that amount, move it to the base layer, open another channel for that amount, swap it to the base layer, and do that over and over again until there's 2 million sats of inbound capacity. Now it takes the longest. You can go the fast rate, and I'll just open one big channel. If you're in a hurry, you can do that. But this is better for two reasons. One is it requires less sats up front for you to put into the channel. So you don't have to have 2 million sats in order to open up 2 million sats of inbound capacity. But secondly, it opens up multiple channels. And what's good about that is if any one of them a couple of them are down or whatever, you still have capacity because you have multiple routes into your node. So using Efficient, I highly recommend that. It just takes longer because it has to open up multiple channels. So let's go ahead and do that. It says I need to deposit 268,662 sats. So let me go ahead and get a deposit address to deposit that. We'll do just a negative SegWit, that's fine. Generate address. Okay, so this is the amount that I need to deposit, and here's the address. I'm going to do that from this one that I already have set up. Let me just grab the configuration password here. Okay, so I've got a bunch of sats on chain here, so I'm just going to use this wallet to send the sats over to here. So after we've already got Agent Wallet set up, it's going to look kind of like this. It's going to have a bunch of channels open. It's going to have balances, etc. I'll go into all of these screens when we get through, but basically I'm using this to send some sats that I have on chain here. So we go on chain and send. and it says I need to send this amount, so copy this amount. And I need to send that to this address, so I'll copy that address. We'll do medium priority. And yeah, I'll just use the defaults here. Go ahead and review transaction. Okay, so we're going to BC1QD23, make sure that looks correct. 1QD23, yeah. The amount is 268,662. 268,662, yep, that looks good. All right, so go ahead and send it. Now we can view this in the Explorer by clicking that, or we can copy the ID if we want to view it in a different Explorer. So you can see if I click that, it goes to my Mempool app. But back over here, this is where we're expecting to see the deposit, and you can see it says, hey, your deposit is on the way. So this is the receiving end. This is the one we're setting up. So here we've got our 268,662 as the transaction ID, and again, I've got buttons where I can copy it, or I can open it in my Mempool Explorer. So we'll go ahead and wait for this to confirm. Okay, so rather than waiting for those to confirm on the Start9 server and the Umbrel, I'm coming back to my the one that I already have set up a bunch of channels here on my 0.3.5.1 server. And I'll continue the demonstration from here while those other ones are loading, and we can come back to those to see how those look later. So you can see I've already got some sats on chain. I've got a bunch of inbound, 2 million inbound and some outbound up here at the top here. It just kind of gives you a summary of what's going on with your Lightning node. The main thing we need for mining is some inbound, and we've got plenty of that. So the way this will work is you'll go to your server and you're going to install Datum Gateway if you haven't already. So let's, for that, we go to the community registry on 0.3.5.1 and we search for Datum Gateway and click install. All right, so this is going to allow us to create our own block templates. You recall this from the previous video on mining at home with Datum Gateway. So we'll just wait for that to install. Let's see, we'll install that also on the other servers here while we're waiting. So this is the 0.4.0. Here, Datum Gateway is in the official Start9 registry. So we'll search for Datum. There it is. Go ahead and install that. And then on Umbrel, we will search for Datum. There we go. Go ahead and install that. Okay, so now we need to configure Datum Gateway on all of our servers. So let's go over to 0.3.5.1. Just click on Needs Config, click Configure, and then we have the mining settings. So here we need to have a Bitcoin address. For that, we'll go to Agent Wallet. Well, you can, if it depends on if you want to use. This is the address used for your Ocean identity. You can use any address that you're able to sign messages for. Agent Wallet just makes it super easy. So I'm going to show you how to do it with Agent Wallet, but you can use any, you can generate this address, and Sparrow, for example, is perfectly fine. You might have an address that's, it's backed by a hardware signer, for example. But this is your pseudonymous identity on Ocean Wallet. And this is also where, if you get base layer payouts, if they're over 1 million sats, they'll come to this address. So this needs to be an address that you actually control and are able to sign messages for. If you want to use Agent Wallet for that, all you got to do is go to On-Chain, click on Receive, and click Generate Address. This will generate a new native SegWit address, and we'll go ahead and click Copy, and we'll use that. Okay. Then the primary Coinbase tag and secondary Coinbase tag, So these usually you're going to set these to be the same thing. What the primary Coinbase tag is, if you happen to be lotto mining, like not for a pool, just for yourself, just by yourself, and hoping you get lucky, this is the name that'll show up on the primary Coinbase tag. So I'll just call this Paul's code. You can call it whatever you want. The secondary is if you are pool mining, which we're showing in this video. If you manage to mine a block, it'll actually show ocean as the primary tag, but underneath that it'll have the secondary tag, which is whatever you put here. So I'm going to put Paul's code. So this will show up on like the Mempool Explorer. It'll show up as who was the one that actually mined the block if you're mining for a pool. So I usually set these to the same thing, whether I'm lotto mining or pool mining, it'll have the same value show up on the Mempool Explorer. And that's basically it. You just hit save. Now you will remember in my previous video on version 0.3.5.1, there was a little quirk about Bitcoin knots, and it needed a config update. And then when you started, if you recall, when you started Datum Gateway, it failed to run the first time. It kept getting into a start loop. If that happens, you can go back and look at that video. Basically, all you do is you uninstall it. So you basically go to Datum Gateway, Actions, Uninstall. You'd uninstall it, and then you go back to the store and install it again and reconfigure it. And that fixes the problem. I think that only happens on StartOS 0.3.5.1. It only happens the very first time you install Datum Gateway. Since I've installed this on here before, I don't have that issue this time. But basically, we'll just go into Datum Gateway and we'll hit Start to start it up. And you want to wait for the health checks to start. Now, if you're having the bug that I mentioned, this will say running for a while, and then it'll say starting. It'll basically get into this loop, and it'll never get where the health checks are green. It'll just get into a loop where it's constantly starting. If that happens, like I said, uninstall it, reinstall, reconfigure, and then it'll run. Okay, so Datum Gateway is now running. I'll wait to do it on the 0.4.0 until the oh, funds are confirmed. Okay, great. So yeah, so the funds have arrived on chain. Let's see if they arrived for Umbrel as well. Yep, they have. Great. Awesome. Let's just continue with setting up Agent Wallet now that now we've got our sats on chain. It says let's connect to the Lightning Network. So basically, those funds are now sitting in the base layer wallet. Just to show you where that is, that's this on-chain wallet here, right? So this is the Agent Wallet I've got already set up. So that's this balance here. In order to get balances over on this side, you actually have to open up Lightning channels, and so this is guiding you through doing that. It says you chose to build inbound efficiently. We'll open a channel, swap the balance back to on-chain, and reuse it to build your receiving capacity over a few hours running in the background. So I'll get this started, and we'll have this run a little bit. We won't go through the entire process here because I don't want the recording to go on for hours, obviously. So we'll go ahead and start it up. Say review and start building. It says build efficiently, which is what we selected. This is the amount we want to receive. This is the recommendation, a diverse mix of peers. So we'll just go ahead and leave the defaults, show the plan, and start building inbound. And it's going to start doing this automatically for you. It's opening channels, swapping, etc. It shows you what it's doing. Let's go ahead and do it on the Umbrel one as well. Get it started here. Okay. Now, each time it's doing something, if it's waiting for something to happen on the base layer, it's going to provide you a link. So if you want to watch that get confirmed, you can. All right. So this is the first transaction that it's doing is trying to open a channel. And so this is the transaction here. Now, just so you know, opening a channel usually requires 3 confirmations. So this will actually, after this gets confirmed, you'll have to wait 2 more blocks before it'll move on to the next step. So, but you'll see different links to different transactions showing, because the next step after the channel opens is it's going to swap back to the base layer. So it'll have that swap transaction, a claim transaction, if I remember right. And then it begins round 2, round 3, etc. It's going to do multiple rounds. Looks like about 10 rounds total. So we'll go ahead and let that run so I can show you what that looks like after a round is completed. I won't go through all the rounds, but I'll just show you what that looks like. So in the meantime, we've got Datum gateway set up over here. And the next thing that we need to do is install HashGG. So for that, we're going to go to the marketplace, and we're going to go to my false code marketplace, connect to it, and the app is called HashGG. It's right here. So go ahead and click on that, and we'll click install. HashGG requires Datum gateway. I believe that is its only requirement. So make sure you've installed Datum gateway and got it configured before you install HashGG and run it. Okay, so HashGG, we'll go ahead and get configure. There's not really any changes that you need to change on here. We'll just click save, and it's ready to start. Let's hop back over here and see if we made any progress on these. Nope, still waiting. All right, let's go back to HashGG. So we'll go ahead and start HashGG. And we'll just wait for the health checks to turn green here. Actually, the tunnel status is not going to work. Yep, the tunnel has to be configured before this one will turn green, so don't worry about this one turning green. We'll go ahead and click Launch UI. And here we have two options. We can use payouts.gg, which is about $3 a month, or we can use a VPS. This one shows approximately $11 a month. This is a stable one that it recommends. There's another one that you can use. It's called btcvps.com, I think it is, or let me check, make sure. btcvps, yeah, .com. This one's a little cheaper. This one, if you view the plans, you can see you can get €6 a month. That's a little less than $7 a month. So this one's a little cheaper. I haven't used this one enough to know how stable it is, so I didn't recommend it, but that one's a cheaper option. You can go with that one. Otherwise, the one that it suggests, if we selected that, let me just go ahead and select that just to show you what that looks like. It suggests BitLaunch, and it has a link to it, and etc. So if we go, I'm not going to show setting up the VPS first. I'm going to show the more common option, which is payouts.gg. If you want to connect to this privately, you probably want to make sure your VPN is set up before you click on this, or copy the link and load it into our browser. Otherwise, it's gonna log your IP address. And one thing to note, though, your server is also going to be connecting to payouts.gg in order to create the tunnel. So payouts.gg is going to know your IP address. So if you're concerned about privacy, you want to make sure your server also is running behind a VPN. But if you're not, it doesn't really matter. Just note that payouts.gg is going to know your IP address. Even if you signed up from a VPN, if your server is not also behind a VPN, it'll know your server's IP address. So basically, it just gives you a nice little wizard that you can follow here to set up. So we'll go ahead and click Start Setup. That says approve the connection. It says open this link in your browser and approve the claim. Now, before you do that, we actually need to set up payouts.gg. Let me go ahead and delete that. So whenever you go to payouts.gg, you'll have to create an account, and you'll need an email address. I would suggest, if you're privacy focused, to use Proton Mail, and I've created this satgrabber at proton.me to use as an example. So whenever and I've already created the account on payouts.gg because some email addresses it doesn't support. I wanted to make sure that the Proton Mail worked, and it does. So if you want to use Proton Mail, use that. Whenever you first create your account and sign in, this is the page that it's going to show. So he's going to show this wizard. We can just click exit wizard, and we're not really concerned about that. But what is important is we need to verify the email address. This is why you need a valid email address. But to remain anonymous, use something like Proton. So you'll get this email from payit.gg, and you'll have a link on it that you're going to click to confirm the email address. Again, if you want to be private, make sure you're on your VPN when you click this link. Otherwise, copy the link and open it in Tor browser instead. All right, so we'll click that to confirm our email address. It says yes, we want to do that. Or we can copy it and, like I said, open it in Tor if we wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and click confirm. Enter a verification code. I'm guessing that's the code that, yes, 560955 5609. Yeah, that's the code that came from the email. I guess the other way would be you could probably click up here and then enter the code from the email. That's the other option. But anyway, so we're going to go ahead and click verify email. All right, and so my email is now verified. So that's the first step. Let me go ahead and close this other window here. Continue over here. The other thing is you need to have a premium payit.gg account. And the reason for that is we're creating a tunnel, and payit.gg for the free account only supports certain tunnels for various games like Minecraft, etc. If you try to use one of those tunnels for something else, it inspects the packets and realizes they're not actually from that game, so you can't trick it. If you want to use a custom tunnel, which we're using for mining, we need to have a premium account. And for that, there's this button right here that has these pixelated hearts that says premium. We'll go ahead and click on that. And here we can unlock premium either billing monthly or annually. So let's go ahead and click upgrade monthly. And for here, you need to add a payment method. If you are privacy focused, what you're going to want to do is get a Visa gift card, like one of these here, or you can get a digital Visa from Bitrefill using Bitcoin, and just make sure your account on Bitrefill is created with fake information, so you remain anonymous. So there's no link back to your real identity. So you can get a gift card using cash. Just go to your local dollar store. Or you can get a digital Visa card through Bitrefill. So I'm going to go ahead and enter the information from my gift card. Okay, I'm going to uncheck the save my information for faster checkout and then click save. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and purchase to start the subscription. Okay, and the payment was complete. So you can see that gift card visas or digital prepaid Visa, it works on payit.gg. So that allows you to have your account so that it's not linked to your identity on payit.gg. So for the privacy focus, that's an important detail. All right, so now we've got that completed. We'll just go ahead and hop back over to HashGG setup. So like I said, we need to have your account created in payit.gg. You need to be signed in. You need to have verified your email, and you need to have purchased premium. All right, so all that needs to be done before you proceed to this next step. Okay, next step, we're going to click Start Setup. And that gives us a connection. It says open this link in your browser to approve the agent. So this is creating an agent in payit.gg. Okay, it allows you to continue here. It's going to create some agent name, doesn't matter, just click add agent. And we'll wait for the setup to complete. Back over here, we can watch on the HashGG, we can wait for everything to turn green. It's refreshing here. Should have a tunnel pretty soon. Yep, so everything is green. So that means we are now ready to start mining. We can, if you have at this point you can close payit.gg. You don't need it open anymore. This is now your Stratum endpoint that you can mine to. Now, if you have a local ASIC that you use for mining at home, this is a good time to test this particular Stratum endpoint before you use it on Braiins Hashpower. If you don't have one, that's fine. You can proceed. It should work as long as um, the statuses are all green. But we're going to go ahead and test it just to be sure. So I'm going to click copy. So I've copied this Stratum endpoint into the clipboard, and I'm going to hop over to my Avalon. So log in here. I'm going to go to configuration, and I'm going to paste in that endpoint. Now I need to have my Bitcoin address, so I'm going to hop over to Datum Gateway and look in the config. The mining settings, this is the Bitcoin address that I use, so I'm going to make sure I copy that one. So you paste that address in, dot, and then whatever name you want to give your worker. I'm just going to call it Nano01. All right, so on Ocean, this is my user ID, which is my Bitcoin address that we created in Agent Wallet, and then dot, and then the name of the worker. I'm just calling it Nano01. Password, we just enter lowercase x. We'll click save. It says we need to reboot, so we'll go ahead and reboot here. Okay, so let's log back in. Make sure it's connecting. We should also be able to go back to Datum Gateway. And yeah, it shows that we've got one connection, so that's good. It's a good sign. Let's see if it's able to start mining here. Okay, and we've started getting a hash rate. So this is working. All right, the next thing that I want to do is want to make sure our account exists over on Ocean. That's sort of a next check that we can do. So go ahead and close Datum Gateway. Let's go to the config. We'll go to mining address. We'll get our mining address again. And let's go to ocean.xyz. Dashboard, and then click My Stats and search for our address. Yeah, it doesn't exist yet. Usually it has to have a share accepted first. So we'll go ahead and wait for the first share to be accepted. Okay, so we can see that now I've got a couple of shares that have been accepted. So let's go and see if we're appearing on Ocean yet. We'll go here. Let's see, we'll get our Bitcoin address again. Okay, excellent. So we can see that the ASIC is online and is starting to, it needs more information to accurately estimate the hash rate, but you can see that we're now showing up on the graph. So everything is hooked up properly, and we're now ready to begin mining on Braiins Hashpower using HashGG. We've proven that the connection is working. All right, so let's check over on, let me go ahead and move this out. Let's go ahead and check over on our other installations of Agent Wallet that we have going. Interesting. So you can see that we've now got multiple transaction links showing up here that we can watch. These are the different transactions that will need to be confirmed in order for this round to be completed. Let's see what our, let me close this. Let's look at our channel transaction. Yeah, so that one is just has one confirmation, so that's going to need 2 additional confirmations for that channel to be open. Let's check over on the Umbrel one. similar deal. Let's click on our channel transaction. Yeah, similar kind of deal. We've got one confirmation, so we'll need 2 more confirmations for that channel to be open. And then 2 more transactions that need to be confirmed for this round to be complete. All right, so we'll let that continue to run. Let's get back over to Ocean. All right, so we've got our account set up on Ocean. Next thing we need to be able to do is receive Lightning payouts. So for that to work, what you want to do is over on Agent Wallet, let me bring that over here. On Agent Wallet, you'll start out on this page, remember, as all of your channels that you've opened, which we're in the process of opening on these 2 new ones. So once we get through that process, our screen's going to look like this basically, where we've got all our channels open, we've got our list of our balances up here at the top. A couple other things too while I'm here, I haven't gone over this. We've shown, it shows the current block height up here at the top, which is kind of nice. The current fee estimates, these are what's coming from your configured Mempool Explorer. So you don't, if you want to go to your Mempool Explorer, you can just click this link here. So you can see it's showing 1, 1, and 3. I need to refresh maybe. Yeah, there it is. So it auto refreshes the UI on like every 30 seconds or something. So you could just wait for it to update, or you can hit refresh. You want to see the current. But the idea is that just sort of a quick view of the fee rates up here at the top without having to necessarily open up Mempool. And then we've got information about your channel underneath that, or your about your node and your channels underneath that. You can get any information about your node that you want from here. And then after that, we have a series of tabs for the different things that you can do in Agent Wallet. The other thing too is we have some quick actions up here at the top that are kind of nice. If you have a balance like we do here, I've got over 1 million sats, and I'm concerned about having this in my hot wallet here. I can click on cold storage, and then this provides an interface where I can send the sats to cold storage. Now what's cool about that is I can send on-chain or Lightning to cold storage. So it'll automate the swap onto the base layer and send it over to cold storage. So this is a really nifty little quick action that allows you to quickly put sats into cold storage if you don't want to keep them on your hot wallet. And like I said, they can either be on the on-chain or in outbound. It can send them to cold storage from either of those locations. Then another quick action that you can use a lot whenever you're using your Lightning wallet is sending funds on-chain. So there's a quick action for that, add funds. It just allows you to send funds. So you can send it on any whatever type of wallet that you want, generate a new address, and you can use that to send your funds. And also some quick Lightning actions, so sending and receiving. So that's what these are. Then your main area that you're working is down here in these tabs. It starts on the channels tab. We've got a payments and an invoices tab. These are for outbound and inbound Lightning. So if you want to do Lightning payments, you got a history of them here, and you can also, just like in the quick action, you can also send from here. Invoices, same kind of deal. We've got a history of all our invoices, plus we got a quick action to receive, which is the same as that quick action up there. All right, so that gives you a sort of rough overview of how Agent Wallet is laid out. But what we're wanting to do is receive Ocean payouts, okay, over Lightning. And the way we can do that is with offers. So if we go to Ocean, go to configuration, it says for Lightning payouts, you must create a Bolt 12 offer that meets our requirements. It must be amount any with this description. All right, so Agent Wallet makes this super easy. We go to offers and we click on, when you come in here, you won't have this, and I'll show this after we finish these 2 other ones finish. But when you come in here, there won't be any offers, but it'll look, you'll have a button to create a new offer. So we'll click create offer. And for Ocean, you just select Ocean mining payouts. It makes it super easy. It does everything that you need. And all it's going to ask for is your Bitcoin address. You can get that from Ocean right here, or you can hop over to StartOS in the Datum gateway configuration like I showed earlier. In the mining settings, it's right here also. So you're just going to copy that address, and you're going to paste it in. And it's going to create the, remember it said it needs to have this description, ocean payouts for address. It's doing that automatically for us. Right, so all we need to do is have the address and say that it's for ocean, and it does all the hard work for us. So we'll click create offer. Okay. Now, ocean needs this offer, so we'll go ahead and click copy. Come back over here. It says paste in your Lightning Bolt 12 offer. So that's coming from this text right here. We click copy. We come over to here and we paste that in. Okay, and then we click generate. This says now you need to sign this with your wallet. All right, so for this, I'm going to hit copy. And here we can click to sign right here. Sign this payout message. So we'll click that. Paste the message into there that we copied. And click sign. And this gives us our signature. So we can copy the signature. And hop back over to Ocean and paste that in. So you can see it basically did all those steps for us and gives us all the things that we need to paste in at each step. Click confirm, and now it's configured this payout address. And we click done. And so now, whenever Ocean has some sats to pay us, they will come in through that Lightning address, and it'll show in this list. It'll show our payouts. So that's how that works. And so now we're configured to receive Lightning payouts. All right, so that's pretty much everything for setting up Ocean. And we've got our endpoint that just for a review, we've installed Datum Gateway and configured it with a new address. We've installed HashGG, and HashGG is giving us this endpoint here that we're going to be able to use to mine to. We tested that endpoint. This is an optional step. We tested that endpoint with our Avalon device, and it's working. We started getting some accepted shares. And then we went on Ocean to make sure that that address was visible. So whenever we showed up initially at ocean.xyz, we go to dashboard, we clicked on my stats, and then we search for our Bitcoin address, which we can always get from the Datum Gateway configuration. And we confirm that our ASIC is showing up here. So everything is hooked up and working. And so next we need to configure Braiins Hashpower. So for the next step, I'm going to go ahead and go to Braiins. It's hashpower.braiins.com. So we'll go ahead and go there. Let's see here. I've already created an account. I'm going to create a new account just so I can walk you through how that works. And I'm going to create an anonymous account so you can see how to do that as well for those who are privacy minded. So let's go ahead and log out here. Okay, so when you first go to hashpower.braiins.com, you're going to see a screen like this where it sort of shows the marketplace over here, but you can't really do anything until you create an account. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to have to click sign up. Now, to sign up for Braiins Hashpower, you're going to have a phone with Telegram installed on it. Now, to set up Telegram, you need to have a smartphone. If you want to do that anonymously, your best bet is to get a prepaid track phone, Android phone. You can get this at a dollar store, preferably one that's not close to where you live. And you could, wear a mask when you go to, if you're concerned about being picked up on cameras. There's really no way to do this completely anonymously because chances are your car is tracking your location, and even if not, there's cameras on all the roads that's going to track your license plate. And then there's cameras tracking you as you walk around. So you might have your face covered, but AI now can identify you based on how you walk and your body proportions. So if a government is coming after you, you're not going to be able to be completely anonymous. So the goal is to make it as hard as possible so that nobody's going to go out of their way and to try and find you if you remain sort of under the radar. So the gray man principle. So you want to make it difficult to track you and then stay off the radar, don't get any run-ins with the law, etc. So they have no reason to try to go through the hurdles to track you. But the point is you get a prepaid phone. And at the store, this was the only one that I could find. It didn't have any prepaid minutes on it. There was one behind the desk that had a large number of prepaid minutes, was more than I needed. So I didn't want to pay for that one. So I went ahead and got this one. But since it didn't come with any minutes on it, I also needed to get a prepaid minutes card, and the smallest one they had was 60 minutes. So I went with that one. There's no reason to keep this for very long. I mean, unless you just want to have an anonymous number. For setting up Telegram, you just need it for a short time to verify that you own the telephone address that you're linking to your account. And then once you've done that, you don't need to be connected to the cell network. You don't need to actually have access to that phone number anymore. So we just get the smallest number of minutes that we can get and the phone itself, and we pay cash for everything. And like I said, try to do this far away from where you live in case they track the serial numbers from based on location or something, right? And so the idea is just making it as difficult as possible. The other thing, when you go to do this, you're going to need a way to connect to the internet, and you're going to want to also probably do that away from your residence if you're really concerned about privacy. So you want to bring a laptop, and you'll need to have the ability to connect to the internet and a VPN. So what you could do is you could connect to the internet over your phone hotspot, and then connect to your VPN from that. And then once the VPN's connected, then do the setup of the phone. Also, if you have if you're concerned about even when the phone's off, it potentially being tracked, you might want to bring a Faraday bag and put the phone in it once you've turned it off at the end, if you're going to bring it back to your residence. It's good to have the phone as a backup because you can always add minutes onto it later if there's a problem with your Telegram account and you need to confirm it again. You can always reactivate the phone at that time and add more minutes to it. So once you get your phone, you got your prepaid minutes. Next thing is go ahead and set up the phone. We'll go ahead and get everything out. And the first thing you'll need to do is you'll need to actually charge the phone for a while. To save a little time, I've already charged this phone a bit, but it comes with a USB cable with USB-C. So if the laptop you're using can connect to the internet, if it uses USB-C, you could charge it that way. Or as long as you have a USB port on your laptop, you can charge from your laptop. But you need to charge your phone for a little bit before activating it. The other thing that your phone is going to come with is it's going to come with a card for activating it, and it's going to have your IMEI. This is the unique identifier for your phone, and you'll need this whenever you set up the phone to activate it. So let's go ahead and turn on the phone. So you're actually going to connect this to the cell network first before we set up the account on here. So what we're going to do for that is we're actually going to go over to this card here that has the information for how to set this up. It says we need to go to trackphone.com/activate. So let's go ahead and do that first. All right, we're going to trackphone.com. And again, if you're concerned about privacy, which you are if you're going this route, make sure you're on your VPN or doing this on the Tor browser. Okay, so on trackphone.com/activate, we're going to click on activate a new phone here. We want a new number. We're not going to use an existing number. For zip code, just put something that's not your actual real zip code. And click continue. It's going to ask for the IMEI, which is on that red card that I showed earlier. So we'll enter that. Okay, that looks right. Go ahead and agree to the terms or it won't let us continue. Okay, here they're going to ask you to log in. It says it needs a phone number, email, serial, or SIM number. I guess we use the SIM. We can use either the serial or SIM number here, I guess. Okay. I just entered a random new password. Since it couldn't log in because I haven't created an account for this phone yet. So I assume that login is actually creating the account at that time, and so that password now is associated with that IMEI that I entered. Okay, so it says, what do you want to do? Purchase a plan now, or I already have purchased a plan card. So we're going to choose I already purchased a plan card. And here we're going to enter the PIN number off the back of that card. Okay, so now we have our PIN typed in from the card. We'll click continue. Okay, activation request submitted. Following steps to configure your device and get your phone working. Basically turn your phone off, make a call. If your call doesn't connect, wait a few minutes and reboot and try again. Okay, so unfortunately I can't change the phone brightness here, but what I did is I turned the phone off and turned it back on. And up at the top, it actually is connected to the network on this first screen where it says hi there. It shows the connected to the cell network. That's what you need in order to continue with the setup without connecting to Wi-Fi, which we don't want to do because we're trying to not link this phone to our identity. So let's go ahead and click start. You won't be able to see the screen. I'm just going to click through the wizard, accept all the agreements. I'm going to select use the mobile network for setup. Okay, copy apps. We're not going to do that. Let's say don't copy. We can create a Google account. I'm going to go ahead and skip it. Potentially this could be used as another anonymous email address, but it would be linked to this phone. So you'd only want to use this email address in conjunction with this phone number. One thing about privacy though, is you usually don't want to use the same element of information to sign up for multiple things. So you wouldn't want to use the same phone number to sign up for different things or the same email address to sign up for different things, because that creates a breadcrumb trail that potentially, if enough of those data points are collected, it could be linked to your identity. You could set up Google if you want. I'm going to go ahead and just skip setting up Google. Go ahead and skip. Okay, we're going to set up a PIN for the device. Okay, we can set up a fingerprint. I'll say not now. I don't need a fingerprint, because fingerprint obviously can be linked to your identity. Google services, we're going to turn everything off basically. Okay, and we'll hit accept. TrackPhone has an agreement here providing information to turn that stuff off, and then click accept and continue. And now the phone is starting. Okay, so if the particular activation that you got doesn't come with enough data, which looks like that one that I got did not, you can purchase additional data here on TrackPhone using a prepaid Visa, which you can get on BitRefill, or you can buy with cash at a local dollar store. So basically what you'll do is you go to refill your plan. You'll put in your phone number. Now your phone number you can get on the device. You'll go, I don't know if I can get the screen visible here, but basically you'll pull up to get to the apps. You'll click on settings. You go to about device, and it should list the phone number there. So you'll enter that phone number here and click view plans. And so we'll scroll down. You can see $10 will get you 3 gigabytes of data. So select plan. And then we'll go ahead and hit checkout. And here we'll enter our card information from our prepaid card. Agree the conditions and place the order. Okay, so now we should have data back on our device again. You can see that the connection at the top is now doesn't have a warning, which means that we now have data. So we're going to go to the internet and we're going to search for Telegram app. All right, yeah, so it's telegram.org is the website. So we'll go there. Telegram for Android. And then we'll click download Telegram. It's downloading the Telegram APK file. When we try to install this, it's going to warn us that we're trying to sideload, so we'll have to change some settings. Okay, we'll tap on it. We'll go to settings and then allow from the source and then install. And it says it was installed, and then we can open it. Okay, so once you have Telegram installed, either on your burner phone, like I just showed, or on your main phone, doesn't matter. When you first start it, it'll say, it'll have a button to say start messaging. So we'll go ahead and click on that. We're going to allow Telegram to make and manage calls. Click allow, and then click the next button. It says allow to read the call log, so we'll continue and allow. Okay, I have to put an email address in here. I'm going to use the email address that I used earlier when I signed up for payouts.gg, but it's generally good practice if you're concerned about privacy to not use the same identifier to sign up for multiple things. So for example, you would not use the same email address to sign up for different accounts. Even if it's an anonymous email address, you want to create a different anonymous email address, or the same phone number. You want to get different anonymous phone numbers, etc. Because the more things you use the same identifier for, that creates breadcrumbs that if you create enough of those can usually uniquely identify you at some point. So make anyone that's trying to track you down, make their lives harder, and you only use an email address or a phone number to sign up for one thing, and then rotate and create a new anonymous identifier for the next account so that they're not associated. But for the sake of this demo, I'm going to use the same email address that I used earlier. So that was satgrabber at proton.me. Okay, and it's going to send a verification email to that address. Okay, and it sends a confirmation code to that email address. So let me get that code. It sent the Telegram code and it detected it because we're running it on the phone, so it's now set up. Now it's going to ask for a name, so I'm just going to put in a fake name. And we're now connected to Telegram. Click allow. And we'll enable that in the settings that it's asking for. Okay, so now that we're connected to Telegram, we actually want to link this Telegram account with Telegram desktop app on your desktop. Now, you want to make sure that anytime you're using Telegram on your desktop, that you have your VPN enabled. Otherwise, this Telegram account is then going to be linked to your real IP address if you're running it on your desktop. The other option is just to run Telegram from this phone, but the problem with that, of course, is that anytime you need it, which is anytime you're ordering something on Braiins Hashpower, you'll have to have the phone open, which is going to geolocate to your house if you're doing your orders from your home. So a better option is to connect this Telegram account to your desktop app, and just make sure that anytime you're running Telegram desktop app, that you're connected to your VPN. So we'll go ahead and do that next. Okay, so link Telegram to your desktop. You're just gonna go to telegram.org, and before you do this, if you're doing the privacy option, you want to make sure that your laptop that you brought with you when you bought your prepaid phone is connected to the VPN. Then we'll go to telegram.org. We'll go to apps, and we'll do Telegram for Windows, Mac, or Linux. I'm on a Mac VM right now, so we'll use the one for Mac OS. But you'll just download whatever one for your operating system that you're running and install it. Okay, so it says we need to drag this over to here, so we'll do that. And our launch pad. There it is. So go ahead and click it. Click open. Okay, we're going to click Start Messaging. Okay, so we're going to click on Start Messaging. It says to scan this from the mobile Telegram. Okay, so from our phone, we're going to follow the instructions. It says go to Settings, Devices, Add a device, and then we'll scan that QR code. Okay, well, looks like that worked. Okay, and so now I've got Telegram set up on my desktop, as you can see here, and I can send and receive messages here on the desktop without needing to have the phone anymore. Okay, so at this point, if you're going with the prepaid phone route, we don't need the phone anymore, so we can go ahead and shut it down. So we press power and volume up at the same time. We'll bring up the power menu. And here we can select power off. Once the phone is fully shut down, if you're concerned about it still being tracked even when it's off, put it in a Faraday bag, and then you can continue using Telegram on your desktop app. Just make sure that, like I mentioned, that you're connected to the VPN anytime you're running it, so it doesn't get associated with your geolocation or your IP address. Okay, so now we have Telegram set up. What we're going to do, and I'm running that in a VM, and that's actually another level of security if you want to make sure that there's nothing that links your, in case Telegram is doing something that's checking your computer identity or something. If you're running it inside of a VM like this, you can run a simple Linux VM. Doesn't have to be a Mac VM. It's a little harder to set up, but if you're running it inside of a VM, it doesn't have access. It's sandbox and doesn't have access to anything on the main computer. Just make sure, even if you're running in a VM, that your main computer is connected to your VPN before you run Telegram. So I have it over here in this VM, and I'm going to continue running it there. The reason I did that is because I actually have Telegram already installed on my main PC, and that's linked to my main account. This is linked to the prepaid phone, this one here in the VM. So this is my anonymous Telegram that I can use here. Okay, so back on Braiins Hashpower, we're going to click on Sign Up to create an account. Here it's going to ask for an email address. You want to use a new Proton email address that you haven't used on anything else if you're concerned about privacy. Otherwise, just enter an email address that you have access to. I'm going to use the same one I used for when I set up my account on payouts.gg. But normally you wouldn't want to use the same anonymous email for multiple accounts because that creates breadcrumbs. You want to make things as difficult as possible to track. You want to have a separate email address for this if you're concerned about privacy. Now it says we need to get a Telegram chat ID. To get a chat ID, we need to add the Braiins official bot in Telegram. So it's t.me/Braiins official bot. Okay. So let's go ahead and look for Braiins official bot in our Telegram here. Okay, there it is. We'll go ahead and add them. Okay, so it has a chat ID here. So I'll go ahead and enter that. Okay, and it verified successfully. Count name and call whatever. Okay, the label's already connected, so let's just do, I don't know, sat forever. Continue. Okay, I need to check my email to verify the account. So I'm going to hop over to my email. There it is. Confirm your email. Okay, now it's going to give me some secure tokens that I need to remember. Now, one thing you can do to actually make this a little easier, if you go over to my marketplace, I have something called key value copy. In fact, I'm going to add it on one of my other ones here. Yeah, because I'm already using that one. So basically I go to marketplace, switch to my marketplace, go to key value copy and install this. This is just a simple way to store secure values that you can easily copy to the clipboard. All right, so that's installed. Let's go ahead and view that. All right, so you have a password that you have to grab from here. This will be randomly generated, and you can create a different, you can change the password to something else if you want to, but it will randomly generate one. Then you'll go to Start, open the UI, paste in your password, and unlock. And so now we can add key value pairs. So our first key is going to be the owner access token. So I'm going to call it owner access token. Grab the value. Save. And then I can add another one. This is the read-only access token. And we grab that value. All right, so I've got those saved now. Anytime I want to copy them, I just go over to the row I want to copy and I'll click copy value. I can edit, view, etc., put them in the trash, etc. So you can reveal the values, change them, etc. So this is kind of just a real simple scratch board for secure values that you want to save and copy to the clipboard. All right, so I've securely stored my access tokens and I'll click continue. All right, so welcome to Braiins Hashpower Market. Go to the Hashpower Market. All right, the first thing you're going to need to do is enter one of those API tokens. And the one you want to enter is the owner access token. That's the one that allows you to make orders. The read only will just allow you to see stuff, but you can't make any changes. So we want the owner access token. So we'll click copy value and we'll paste that in up here and click login. Okay, you can see I'm logged in as SatGrabber. Okay, so now that you're logged in, the first thing you're going to need to do is actually send some Bitcoin over to Braiins. So for that, what you want to do is go to the available balance. You can reveal a deposit address. This is where you're going to deposit your Bitcoin. So I'm going to reveal the address. It's going to warn you that you need to have 3 blockchain confirmations before it appears in your balance. They're basically they can do manual review if they think something's suspicious, And actually, I've created a tool to help you avoid the suspiciousness, so you can avoid that manual review. And then once it arrives, then only thing you can do with it is use it to rent hash rate. You cannot pull the Bitcoin off once you've deposited. It's sort of a final thing. Once the Bitcoin is in here, it's in here, and you can only use it to rent hash power. So that's what that's warning you about. You can click on I understand. Okay, so we want to send some Bitcoin to this address here. Let's go ahead and copy that. I'm going to send that from Agent Wallet because it has a way to avoid manual review. So what you do is you go to Braiins Deposit, is one of the tabs on Agent Wallet, and we're going to do a new deposit. We're going from an external, or no, in this case I have the Bitcoin here. So I'll explain what this is. You can send from the Lightning address in Agent Wallet itself, from the on-chain wallet in Agent Wallet itself, that's the one I'm going to be picking, or from an external source. If you've got an external source of Lightning or an external on-chain, like say from your cold storage, you can choose those options. So basically you select whatever your source of your sats that you're going to send to Braiins. You'll select that. I'm going to go from on-chain on my Agent Wallet here. So click next. The amount, let's just do 500,000 sats. I've got 1 million, but I have to keep, you can't send all of it because you have to keep some on chain for channel closures. So the max that I can send is 500,000. That's fine. We'll use that. I need to put in that Bitcoin address that we got from Braiins. Just a reminder where that came from. That came from here. Deposit BTC address. So it should end in 7C2A. 7C2A. It does. Okay. And we'll click next. It says you want to include extras in the deposit. That's do you want to send exactly 500,000 sats, or if there's any extras you want to include those, so you could have like 500,971. So if you want a nice round amount, it looks less suspicious, so you can uncheck that. I think it works fine with it though, so I'll go ahead and leave it checked in this case, and then we'll click. Otherwise, you end up with a small dust UTXO that you can't spend. It's just a matter of if you're having a problem with Braiins doing manual review all the time, try unchecking that and see if that improves your success rate. I've not had any issues with it. I've done this a couple times and haven't had any issues with the extra sats showing up. So we'll hit start deposit. This typically should work, but last couple of weeks I've been seeing this issue where it says the submarine swap failed. In this case, there's a option that I added to fix this problem. So if you try to do a Braiins deposit and it gets to the screen that says the submarine swap creation failed, what you're gonna have to do is wait for the recovery transaction to complete, and then you can retry it with the tweak, which I'll show you in a second. Now, while we're waiting on that to confirm, let's hop over to those other installations of Agent Wallet that we started earlier and see how they're doing. Oh yeah, so we're getting through a number of rounds here. This is good. So we've got to round 3 on this one. And you can see we've built up 471,000 sats of inbound liquidity so far through 2 rounds. 2 out of 10 are completed. You can see all the different transactions. You can look at those to sort of see where things are. And this is the one that's currently waiting for the channel open. Remember, I said those have to have 3 confirmations. So when there's one more block, that channel will open and it'll continue to the lockup transaction. Let's look at the Umbrel one, see how it's doing. Okay, so Umbrel's on round 4 already. It's completed 3 rounds and it's built 673,000 sats of inbound. Let's see what this channel open's looking like. Yeah, that one also has 2 confirmations. So one more in that channel will be open and it'll move to the next step. So these are coming along nicely and we're opening up a lot of inbound. All right, so we'll hop back over to our refund from Bolt's swap that failed, and we'll wait for that to confirm. Because if it fails to go through the washing process, it'll still attempt to send it to Braiins from the original UTXO. This is probably something I need to change because this potentially could go through manual review. So while waiting on that, I probably should explain what exactly Braiins Deposit does. What it does is it tries to create a fresh new UTXO and a new unused taproot address in your wallet, and sends that sort of that clean, pristine UTXO over to Braiins Hashpower. And now what I found is if I put the sats into the Lightning Network, if they're not already there, and do a swap in bolts.exchange, the transaction that bolts sends back, if I have it send it back to a fresh new taproot address, that UTXO Braiins seems to accept those without manual review, sort of regardless of what the background is. So I've had folks that do a lot of mixing. If you send a UTXO that went through mixing to Braiins, they're going to manual review it most of the time. And so your sats will be locked up while they're reviewing that UTXO. But going through this process, sort of having bolts.exchange send over the sats to a fresh new taproot address and then sending from that taproot address over to Braiins, they seem to like that pattern. And so that's what this Braiins deposit process is actually doing. In this case, what I did is it tried to put it onto Lightning. It failed. And then Braiins sent a refund back to us. And so we just went ahead and sent that amount on that fresh address over to Braiins. That's not the normal process, but otherwise we'll use the one that I've tested a lot more, which that one will open a channel. It'll send to bolts.exchange. Bolts will then swap it back into a fresh new taproot address, and then that'll send on to Braiins. And that's the one I've tested a lot of times, and they've not done any manual reviews for those. So okay, so we've got a couple of confirmations so far. Let's see if it's showing up in Braiins yet. Okay, it detected a deposit in these 3 confirmations. It says it takes 2, but what they mean is 2 additional confirmations on top of the original mine transaction. So that'd be 3 confirmations total. We're currently at 2, so we'll just wait for the next one. All right, so let's go over to Braiins Deposit. Yeah, so you can see that one completed. So I'm going to show you, while we're waiting on that last confirmation, I'll show you the tweak that I mentioned. So let's say we did on-chain, and you see this option here, it says advanced having trouble. Whenever you choose one of the on-chains, this will show up. If you click the arrow, what this option will do is it'll, instead of doing a swap from on-chain to Lightning, and then from Lightning back to our fresh taproot address on-chain, that first step, it'll instead open a channel and send the Lightning that way. And that first step is the one that seems to be failing recently on bolts. I'm not sure why. They haven't fixed it. It used to work for a long time, and the last few weeks I've noticed it hasn't been working. So that's what this is in there for. You can do that step. Okay, so now that we've got 3 confirmations, we should be able to come over to Braiins Hashpower, refresh, and it's flagged for manual review. All right, so this is an indication that using that refund UTXO is not a safe way to avoid manual review. So I'm going to go ahead and do I'll go ahead and do another deposit using the other method. Let me actually go over to one of these. I'll go ahead and go from here. So we don't quite have 500,000. Let's see here. Let's do new deposit on chain. We'll do the channel open. Let's just do 250,000 sats. We need to get our Braiins address here. And then next. This time I'm going to not include the extras in the deposit. This is going to be the best case scenario. So before we were using a refund transaction rather than actually sending it through the Lightning Network like we were originally going to. And we included the extras whenever we sent it to Braiins. Those are the two things that potentially could get flagged. So I'm using the method that we've tested a lot, which is we're going to send the sats over to Lightning Network. I'm going to get our swap into a fresh new taproot address via bolts. And we're not going to include the extras. We're just going to we're going to allow there to be a dust UTXO at the end so that Braiins Hashpower gets a clean 250,000 sats. So we'll go ahead and hit start deposit. And so this will take a little longer because it has to open a channel, which itself takes 3 confirmations. Then it'll do a swap, which requires another confirmation, and then it'll send to Braiins Hashpower, which requires 3 more confirmations. So we're looking at 7 confirmations total, which that's a little over an hour. Okay, this is interesting. I've seen this a couple of times. What happens is when it goes to drain the channel that it created to move the sats to swap them back to on-chain, right before that happens, you end up with another transaction that's going through your node, and it changes the ratio of inbound outbound liquidity on that particular channel that it wanted to drain. And that you end up with not enough sats to actually complete the swap. I haven't found a way around this. This doesn't happen too often, but if it does happen, this is actually fairly easy to fix. If we close this, you can see that those sats, those 250,000 sats, they're in outbound Lightning. And if you go over to the channels, you can probably see what happened here. Yeah, you can see that that outbound liquidity is now sitting in a couple of channels rather than just the one that it opened up, the new channel. So basically what happened is some sats came in, one channel came out another channel, and like came in one of the other channels, went out the channel that we had just opened in order to send sats to Braiins Hashpower. And so the outbound liquidity on the channel that it was going to use is now consumed. So the easy way to fix that is just to do another Braiins deposit, but this time choose Lightning as the source. All right, so the sats have already been moved from on-chain into Lightning, and so that was the first step whenever you're going from on-chain to Braiins Hashpower, is it puts it into Lightning first. So that step's already been done. The sats are there in Lightning and ready to be sent. So we can just do a source as Lightning, and then pick the amount where we did 250,000 sats. We need to get our address from Braiins Hashpower. It's here. Send it over to there. Next. We'll tell it not to include the extras. That's the way we were trying to do it originally. So we'll just send the 250,000. If there's any extra from we overestimate for fees or something, those will just come back as a dust UTXO. But this will make sure we get a clean 250,000 sat deposit into Braiins. So I'll go ahead and hit start deposit. Okay, so now it's going to convert the Lightning balance into a Bitcoin transaction. So it's going to send it over to bolts.exchange. That's going to swap it back into a fresh new taproot address. If we want to watch the Bitcoin transaction in Mempool, we can click on this link here. We're just waiting for this to confirm. Oh, this is good. We actually have a new BIP-110 signaling block that was just mined by SOV. Okay, so now we have a confirmation. Let's head back to the dashboard. All right, you can see that it has finished sending the sats through bolts.exchange into a fresh new Taproot UTXO, and now the next step is to send it on to Braiins. And so that gives us a link to another transaction. And remember that Braiins is looking for 3 confirmations. And while we're waiting on that, we have a BIP-110 signaling block that was just mined, you can see here, by SOV. So you can see there's no BIP-110 violations. That's a fairly empty block. Usually what that means is he has his node configured to not accept sub 1 sat per vbyte. Because transaction rate has been pretty low on the base layer recently, miners have started mining transactions that have less than 1 sat per vbyte fee rate. But if you have that filtered out in your mempool like I do, you can see mine only goes to 1. That's why this block here that's in the queue here is not very full. If I were to mine a block based on this template, it would be somewhat empty. And that's the reason why, is I'm not including sub 1 sat per vbyte transactions. And that's why this particular block by SOV is pretty empty, most likely, is because these are the only transactions that were paying 1 sat per vbyte or larger for their fees. And so this is the only transactions he had in his mempool when he mined the block. But anyway, let's go back to our transaction that we're waiting on here. Okay, this is interesting. You can see that the transaction we're watching just got mined into a block, but this was mined by SOV, and he's signaling for BIP-110. So we got basically 2 blocks in a short window that are signaling for BIP-110 right here. This one obviously has a few more transactions in it than the previous one, which is probably because there were more transactions that were more than 1 sat per vbyte, so we included them in the block. But yeah, so we have 1 confirmation now. We'll just wait for the next 2, and then we'll go over to Braiins Hashpower and see if it shows up. Actually, I can check right now and see if it sees it yet. Okay, you can see that it detects it. We just need to wait for our 2 more confirmations. And the goal here is to not have the manual review tag show up on this one. So if it goes as all the testing that we've done before, this method that we just did should go through without a hitch. And for this one, it says manual review, we may have to wait a while. So it's kind of sucks, but it means that those sats are locked up until they get around to reviewing it. And then once they approve it, then you'll be able to continue using those sats to rent some hash rate. So we'll come back over here and we'll wait for the next 2 confirmations. Okay, looks like we have all of our confirmations now. So let's hop over to Braiins Hashpower. Yep, and you can see that this one went through and is not marked for manual review. So whenever the on-chain to Lightning swap fails, rather than taking the refund and sending that off to Braiins, I'm going to change it so that it just marks it as fail, sort of like failed like this. And the sats will be back in your on-chain wallet. And you can try again with that option. Like I mentioned, that's this option right here. Whenever you're using on-chain, either externally or on-chain from inside agent wallet, this here advanced option right here, and check that. And if bolts doesn't fix the issue, it's been like this for a few weeks, I may just make this the default option, have that checked automatically. And then if they ever fix it, then you could uncheck that. This just makes it a little bit slower because you got to wait for those 2 extra confirmations for the channel open, which you don't have to if bolts is working. But since bolts is having an issue, we kind of need this option. So like I said, may make that default, but the point is definitely use that, because if you don't, you're going to end up with your transaction going into manual review, which you don't want. All right, so now that we've got some sats that are actually confirmed on Braiins Hashpower, we can go ahead and actually put in a bid for some hash rate. So the way that'll work is go to the market, and we can kind of see where the market value is right now. Looks like it's between 50,125 and 50,621. Um, so that's kind of where if we did a bid less than that, we're not going to get picked up, and if we do more than that, we could get picked up. So kind of just gives you an idea, and you can also see the bids that have been successful over here on the left. So you just get an idea of how much you want to spend. Keep in mind that you're really not going to make money doing this. The goal of this is not to come out ahead of where you started. The goal is to be able to command a large amount of hash rate for a fairly low cost. So you can use it, for example, like in the spam war, to signal for BIP-110, or try to mine block the signals for BIP-110. So think of it from that perspective. You're using this to decentralize mining. You're not doing this to earn money. So let's go ahead and put in a bid. I'll just show you how that works. Now that we've got some sats that we can work with. And you can see the amount that you have available up here, available balance. So I got 250,000 sats available. I'm going to go to orders. It has a guide that you can go through if you want to read how it works. I'm going to skip that for now. A couple of things. Let's see here. I think we need to set up, yes. So before we actually put in an order, we need to set up our pool, which is our Datum gateway through HashGG. All right, so we need to have a stratum address to put in right over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to HashGG, launch that, and we're going to grab our mining endpoint, and then we'll hop over to Braiins here, and we'll put that in there. Now, if you look in the tooltip, it says you need to have user.worker at, and then your stratum endpoint. So if you're pasting in there, you just have your stratum endpoint. So we need to put in front of that at symbol here. So let me just start blank here. We'll do our user.worker at, and then our address that we got from HashGG. Okay, so let's grab with the user. The user is going to be our Bitcoin address, and so we can get that from the Datum gateway configuration in mining settings. All right, so we'll put that in there. Worker, we can call this whatever. Let's just call this Braiins. All right, so this is what's going to appear. Remember over on Ocean, we had this worker that we created earlier called Nano01. Right, so this will create us a worker called Braiins. And so if we're mining with our ASIC at home, our Avalon Nano, or your BitX, you can have that one show up as one worker, and then the mining from Braiins Hashpower can show up as another worker that you call whatever you want. I'm just calling it Braiins. So it's Bitcoin address for Ocean. It's your Ocean ID. Dot worker name can be whatever you want. Just whatever you want to show up on Ocean as the worker down here. At symbol. All right, an at symbol. And then the stratum endpoint, which we get from HashGG. It's right here in HashGG UI. It has it right here. You copy to put it in the clipboard. All right, so that's what we're putting in here for the pool, and we'll click add. Okay, so now that's a pool that we can select from whenever we want to make a bid. So we had to put that in first. Okay, so now let's go back over to orders. And let me go to the market, see where we're at still. We'll do probably, let's do one for 51,000 as our bid. See if we can make it. So current bids, no active bids. Let's go create one. Price. Okay. You can see there's the last price listed here. I'll go ahead and use it. The last price was 50,931. So you can click that just to use it. But it should be around that bar, because if you go less than that bar, you're gonna get outbid. Um, and then for the budget, I'm just gonna use everything I have, which is 250,000 sats. The speed, let's say we're gonna do 1 petahash per second. That'll give us 5 days. The goal is to actually spread this out over a lot of days. The more days you can spread this out, the less likely you are to run a stretch of bad luck and lose all of your sats. So this is about 5 days. In that 5 days, Ocean is bound to find. You can see they're mining quite a few blocks, so it would be unusual for Ocean to go a period of 5 days and not mine any blocks. So by spreading your hash rate out over as many days as you can, then you're gonna have less loss. So obviously, if you have a bigger budget, you're gonna be able to go at a faster rate. Um, uh, and of course, as you increase the rate, it decreases the number of days that you can mine at that rate. So you kind of have to play around with these three numbers to get a good feel. I usually do. I don't have the sats right now, but I usually advise starting with 1,000,000 sats at 3 petahash. That'll give you about a week. So you can mine 3 petahash for about a week at 1,000,000 sats. So that's kind of a good starting point. This is a good starting point too, though. We've got 250,000 sats. We're going to do 1 petahash for about 5 days. That works fine. And then for our mining pool URL, we're going to go ahead and select that mining pool that we just added for HashGG. And if you want, you can add some notes. Otherwise, we're just going to go ahead and click Create Bid. Okay, and it's going to require confirmation from Telegram. So we're going to go ahead and go over to our VM where Telegram is. Let's go ahead and... All right, so you see it says the confirmation is required, and it's got a link to confirm. If you're going to click this link, make sure you're on a VPN so that you're not, because this is actually going to go to Braiins Hashpower. So depending on how you're doing your privacy and how you're doing your networking, make sure that the host, if you're running this in a VM like this, the host is connected to the same VM that you're connecting to Braiins Hashpower with, so it gets the same IP address, for example. Because you don't want to leak any additional information. Like if you're on a VPN on Braiins Hashpower, but over here on this system, you're on a VPN, or you're on a different IP address, now you've sort of linked those two together. So kind of keep that in mind. But if you're on the same system, like if you're running the Telegram app on the same system, or if you're running it on a VM that's running on the same system, where you also have your browser that's going to Braiins Hashpower, this will all be the same IP, so it's fine to go ahead and click the link. So I'm going to go ahead and click the link, and that's going to open up a confirmation here. So it says your request has been confirmed. I can go ahead and close that, and we'll head back over to Braiins Hashpower. It says the bid was successfully created. We'll get close. And now all we need to do is we need to wait for it to actually start mining. If you wait a long time and your bid doesn't get picked up, you can edit it. You can increase your price. You can just wait and see if we get picked up here. Okay, and you can see it. We've already started to get some hash. They've already started directing some of the hash rate toward our endpoint. So within a couple of minutes, you're going to start to see that. I probably won't show up yet, but within a couple of minutes, you'll start to see this show up on here on the dashboard. Okay, while we're waiting on that, one thing I want to talk about is needing to watch your bid. If your bid is near the limit, like what I picked, it's very close to the lowest amount that's being bid right now, or that's being accepted. It's possible you'll get outbid, and your order will actually get canceled. And so you'll have to be watching it. There's a very common situation where you start it up, you go to sleep, you wake up the next morning, you realize it's been off for hours. There's a really nice tool. I'm going to kind of show that to you. There's a member of the forum, Remco. He's built a tool called, and there's a link to it on the forum here. So Hashrate Autopilot. So if you go to the forum, you search for Hashrate Autopilot, it's this thread here. One forum member notified me about it, and we were talking about it, and the dev showed up to join in on the discussion. This looks like a really great tool. I've not set it up yet myself. Currently, it's only for Umbrel, but I'm going to create wrappers for StartOS. And so if you check the market periodically, it should show up in there once I have the wrappers ready. But the Umbrel and the upstream repo is over here. This is actually, I believe, on the official Umbrel store. So you can actually go to the official Umbrel store. Let me go ahead and go there. We'll do a search for it. It should show up in here. Right there, Hashrate Autopilot. Okay. And like I said, I'll create StartOS wrappers for this. Yeah, this looks like go back to where I was here. Right here. You can read through the README, but basically the idea is this will automatically keep an eye on your bids and keep them active as they get canceled and dropped off. So you can read through the README. This looks like a well put together product. And like I said, I'll have the StartOS wrapper for it. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, it's showing up now. So it'll take a little while for it to get enough shares for it to properly calculate your hash rate. So these are going to be way off when you first see the workers show up. But just check back after an hour or so, and these should start tracking closer to the real hash rate. And of course, it shows it up here, your live hash rate in the Braiins dashboard. All right, so that's it for putting in offer. That's how you actually put in a bid, get a bunch of hash rate, and start mining your blocks. I'm going to show, I didn't go into this yet. I'm going to show how to set this up on Umbrel because there's a couple of extra steps. On Datum, you have to actually configure it. So we'll go ahead and copy the password for Datum and then open it. So here you have to actually configure your remember whenever earlier I was showing configuring Datum in StartOS, you configure it in the config screen in StartOS itself. On Umbrel, you need to configure it in Datum Gateway. So we're going to come into the configuration of Datum Gateway. Here's where we need to put in our Bitcoin address. So we can come over to Agent Wallet. Let's log in. Okay, and you can see that yeah, so it didn't quite make it all the way through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was trying to go to 10, but it made it through 6 cycles before it didn't have enough sats to recycle. That's just it depends on a number of factors, so it's a little bit difficult for it to predict exactly how much it's going to cost. So if you deposit a little more than what it asked for, you can usually have a better success rate. But this opened up 6 channels, which is plenty. This is quite a bit of diversity that we've added. So at this point, we can go ahead and set up Ocean. So I'll come over to on-chain. We're going to hit receive, and we're going to create a new address. So this is going to be our new address that we're going to be mining with in Datum. So we'll paste that in there. Okay, so we can get our Coinbase tag, whatever we want. I'm just going to say Paul's code, Umbrel. Yeah, so we want to do shared pool mining require. This is pool mining only. We need to have that set. This is pretty much all we need to have set here. So we need to have the Bitcoin address. We need to choose our Coinbase tag, and then we just click save. It's going to require us to sign in, so we're going to do admin. And then the password was over here. We come to Datum Gateway, show default credentials right here. This is the default password. So this is the password we're going to enter. So we'll put that in and sign in. Okay, that'll allow us to save. Okay, so we've got our stuff saved. All right. Then we need to install HashGG. So we installed Datum Gateway. Let's go ahead and install HashGG next. Go to our community app store, and HashGG is right here. So go ahead and install it. Okay. Requires Datum, which it is, and install HashGG. Okay, now this time I'm going to show you how to set up VPS option. We showed playit.gg before, so I'll show you VPS. And I'm going to use one that's a little bit cheaper. It's called BTC VPS.com, btcvps.com. We're going to go to the view VPS plans, and we're going to choose the €6 a month plan, quarter monthly. We're going to choose either Debian or Ubuntu. It needs to be a Debian-based operating system. I'll just use Debian, so that's the lightest weight. Payment tier, 1 month, €6. We're going to pay with Bitcoin, and we need to create an account. So we need to have a email address. If you're concerned about privacy, remember what I talked about earlier. Don't use the same Proton email for everything. Create a separate one for each account. So this would be another case where you'd want a different Proton email. I'm just using the same one for this demonstration, but you wouldn't want to do that if you're concerned about privacy. We got a CAPTCHA. Just ignore. When I first got this, I was trying to put B's in for the Bitcoins. Those are supposed to be ignored. We're just looking for the numbers up here. So this is 34BR. Okay. And it says we need to pay this amount. All right, so we're going to go ahead and copy this address. We'll go ahead over to Agent Wallet. I'll just go ahead and send it from here. I've got enough sats here, so send to that address. Where was that? Over here. Sorry, I got too many tabs. All right, so I need to do some convert that into sats. I don't know why everyone uses BTC whenever it's like a small decimal point. So 100 million times 0.000108 equals, okay, so 100 or 10,800 sats is what we're sending. All right, come back over here. 10,800 sats. We'll use medium fee rate and review the transaction and send it. Okay, let's view that in Explorer and wait for it to confirm. Okay, so we got our welcome email. We don't really need to do anything with this one, just this hi. This is just our account login is this email address, so we don't actually have to confirm it, it looks like. So you do have to remember what address you use because you need that to log back in. All right, so we'll just wait for this to confirm. While we're waiting for that to confirm, I'll show you another interesting feature that I've added. Now that we've got two block signaling for BIP-110. Down here you can see that whenever there's a sliding window, so the way the BIP-110 works is if a certain amount of blocks within a sliding window, I believe it's like 50-something%, if they are signaling for BIP-110, it'll automatically activate at that time. And so this shows a breakdown of how many you would need for that to happen. We'd need We need 1109 blocks. We've got 2 right now within this window. But what's cool is whenever there are blocks within the window, you can click on this to see a summary of them. And you can go link to them. So if I click on this one, this is the earlier block. So as we get closer to the mandatory signaling window, I'm expecting to see more block signaling. So this will be more interesting to watch. You can sort of see as this percentage goes up, you're going to start seeing this be a lot more active and the numbers here going up. And this bar here has a percentage. What this shows is, yeah, 55% is, earlier I said 50 something percent. It's 55%. So if this bar gets up to 55%, then you have a minor activated software, and then you won't have to go into UASF, user activated software. So this is interesting to watch. You might see this happen as the mandatory signaling window approaches. This could happen. Otherwise, we go into UASF in August. All right, so it looks like we were confirmed. Let's go ahead and go back to our transaction that we were. I remember. Let me just go over here. Put it this way. Yeah, it's confirmed. Okay, so it's in this block. It's confirmed. Let's go to BTC BPS. All right, I don't know how many confirmations they want. Let's go ahead and we could also try refreshing, I suppose, if we go to servers. Okay, so it's actually activated our server, so it just needed the one confirmation. So we've got our server here, status is active, auto renew is disabled. You see our balance is 0 because I paid the exact amount that was needed for a month, which was the equivalent of €6. So at this point, we can go ahead and click on manage. This gives us our password for logging in. This is the root password and our IP address. So what you want to do is you're going to want to open a terminal. This would be like command prompt if you're on Windows, just whatever terminal app your OS has. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and click this because this actually guides us through it, what I just did. So both options require, okay, all right, so we're going to click VPS tunnel. Okay, so it says create an account. It's recommending BitLaunch and has the links to it. BTC VPS is a little cheaper. Yeah, I'm going to try it out and see how its uptime is. I might recommend this one instead moving forward. But I know that BitLaunch has a good uptime, so if you want to use that one, you can. It's a little more expensive. Okay, so we're creating a server. Go ahead and continue. It says you'll need this to generate the exact setup command. So it needs your IP address. So we're going to go ahead and grab that. That's this address here. So paste that in. And then continue. It says you're going to connect to your VPS. So, okay, SSH root at and your IP address is what I was typing in earlier. So you're going to copy that. You're going to open a new terminal and paste that in. It's going to ask you want to continue. You're going to type yes, enter. And it's going to ask for your root password. And that is this password up here. So you're just going to go ahead and grab that and paste it in and enter. Okay, so now you are logged in as root. So we'll go back to HashGG and it says then paste this setup script. So we're going to click copy script and we're going to paste it in. On Windows, you'll probably just right click and it'll automatically paste it in. So in Linux and I believe in Mac, you have to actually right click and select paste. So just keep that in mind. If you're on Windows, you're probably not going to have this right click menu with the paste. You're just going to right click and it'll automatically paste it in. All right. It's the same with the password. If you're pasting the password, you'll just right click and press enter. But since I'm on Linux, I have to hit paste. So we'll do that. And then I'll press enter. Okay. And it says return to HashGG. Here we're going to test the connection. It says it was successful. So we'll click connect. And it's going to establish a tunnel. All right, everything should show up green, and then this is our Stratum endpoint. So just like with payouts.gg, once you're connected, you should see all three statuses being green, and you'll have a place to copy your endpoint that you're going to use for Braiins Hashpower. All right, so that's basically how you set up VPS. That's also how you run HashGG on Umbrel. Okay, yeah, so you can see the 60-second one is getting a little bit closer to more accurate. The 3-hour one is still way off, so you're gonna have to wait a few hours for this to start hashing up. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to show for today. If you have any questions, stop by the forum and open a thread. We have a lot of people on the forum. paulscode.com is the address for the forum. Sign up. Once I approve your account, you'll be able to post here. If you're using the Hashrate Autopilot, Remco is a member of the forum. He's the dev of that app, so I'm sure he'll be happy to help out as well. Okay, that's all I had planned for this video. If you have any issues, just reach out to me on the forum. If that's not enough, I'll set up a virtual meeting and we can dive into your issues. I'm not charging for my time to help set up Braiins Hashpower because this is sort of how I'm contributing to the spam war. So if you need help, feel free to reach out. I can help with Start9 as well as with Umbrel. And I also do one-on-one coaching as a side hustle. So if you need anything related to Bitcoin, need any help related to Bitcoin, let me know and we can set up a virtual meeting and discuss. I'll see you later.
I won't tone down my energy, so just scroll past, don't follow me. Delete my comments, still I'm free, cause only God can cancel me.